LO4, or CPT till 4. So
from Stanford, it doesn't make sense.
This is spectrum region global range, very long.
I know that you've all had some very good discussions on the table, and I certainly don't want to stop that. We want this to be really interactive. We want this to be an opportunity that alumni can share some experiences with you, and for students to get the opportunity to ask some questions of the alumni who've had some experience both being at Stanford, they've had experience doing internships, and then they're out in the work field. So anything that you might have. 2 women. Okay, 2 of the other kind?
Stanford is such a wonderful place that you should really explore not just your field, but you should explore all the other fields that there are. I took so many interesting courses in my second year, and I just realized if I had done that in my first year, I would have just come out of Stanford feeling even happier than I actually did. So
I should say that I always try to balance my course load and like always taking one course which is lighter. But in hindsight, I think I shouldn't have done that. I should have taken really challenging courses, because at the end what you learn from them is really what matters. It doesn't matter how you perform. It matters how much you learn from them. So just take very challenging courses. That's all Stanford is about.
I come from the other side.
Okay.
So I started out thinking I should take multiple courses, but then soon I realized that if I don't focus on a problem to solve, at the end of my master's I wouldn't have something substantial that I've gained. So I should say that if you can identify a problem or an area that you'd want to focus on very early, then it will help you actually get the most out of your master's or PhD. PhD, of course, you're going to take a problem, but master's.
The difference between a mentor and a sponsor is that mentor will like kind of help you, advise you, but those sponsor will speak for you. They will like tell people that this is person you need to hire, this is the person you need to go to for this kind of problem. Early sponsor for female are actually from the university. So I personally have a professor who is essentially the sponsor for me. This professor will always say all positive things and say that, oh, you should definitely hire this person. I think ideally if you can reach that stage with 1 or 2 professors, that will be great.
So yeah, it's very good if you can be a TA or an RA with a prof. That's the best way to build a relationship. Otherwise, it's a bit difficult. Just taking courses doesn't really get you into that place, right?
As I said, I took focused courses on linguistics. So my professor was pretty much the same for a few courses. So I got to know him that way. And I also was a research assistant in the security lab. So I had a couple of professors in the security lab with whom I could converse very well. Having professors to talk to from 2 different areas within computer science helped. Most of our professors actually sit on the boards of many technology companies. So when you have a doubt about some idea that is being worked on in these companies, and if you feel you'd be a good part of it, I think professors are the best persons to start with. Because they sit on the boards, they know what these companies are looking to do in the near future.
my relationship was a bit different. It was not with the professor as such for his ability as outside of Stanford, but more of his role as a teacher. So I was one of those people who when he first came here, I was a bit lost. And I took this one class with this professor in machine learning. It was just magic for me. And just talking to him in that class and just like going to his office hours or just chatting with him outside of class, I learned so much about that one field that it changed my life. I'm actually working on it right now, and it actually inspired, like in my free time, I actually want to read about that and I want to grow in that field. So my relationship with the professor came from that aspect, and I was really thankful that I had wonderful teachers there for me.
Does anybody have a clear idea that they want to go into a startup? No startups here. So everybody else wants to go into big companies? You guys want to work, or do you what is it that you want to do?
What I found was working at a startup, you learn a lot of breadth. You do more than what you signed up for. And in a big company, you have more scope of specializing in something. So it's a personal choice of whether you want to learn the entire stack, or you want to do something that you really enjoy and become a master in that. So that's one way of looking at it when you want to make a decision.
Startups, I believe, are awesome because they disrupt the field. And corporations try to catch up always. So it is the research arm of a corporation that does the catching up. So I would like to join a startup once I have a PhD. But then until then, I'd like to stay in a corporation because it gives me the time to focus on a problem and become an expert at something.
One advice I would like to give people is to check about the founders when you join any startup, be it big or small. In my company, the CEO is actually the PM. So every week, PM, product managers will have meeting with the CEO. I interact with CEO right now almost on a daily basis. So that will allow you to see a lot of strategic things.
I didn't really consider startups much because for one thing that in my area in circuit designing, there aren't that really exciting startups, right? Mostly the big companies like Intel, Nvidia, Oracle, they only do the circuit design.
I think it really depends on what you want, what your lifestyle is. But for me, startups is a very exciting place.
The first trying to find a job, I saw all this, big company, startup, and then academia, and then also industry thing. Working for a while, I feel like it's really just what you really like to do. Either way.
And from MSNE, so I was looking for, my first preferences were startups, but I wanted a PM role too, but I figured out that they needed a CS, most of the startups needed, so that's why I have a question for Crystal is, how did you find which startups require, don't require CS skills from the PM, did you just talk to them, or how did you go about finding that?
What attracted me a lot for this company is a bigger point, which is the culture. So while interviewing with them, I realized that I wasn't really interviewing for a position. They were interviewing me as a person. So there are like different people from business development and from like product, from engineering, those all kinds of people interviewing me, just try to figure out how to create a role for me. So by then I know that be it PM or any other things, I know that they will create something suitable for me, for my skill set. And then by the time I accepted the offer, so my offer is just something. It was half product analytics, half business development. I was happy. And by the time that I accepted the offer, they say that, oh, actually the person interviewing you is in another company right now, so we are going to create another role for you, which is a PM and analytics. I was like, sweet. So I think like choosing the company with the right culture is really very important. Some companies, they claim that they care you as a person. Everybody will claim that they care you as a person, but for people who really do that, you need to tell when interviewing with them. So if you find a company that really care you as a person, like the role, it doesn't matter, then the company allow you to make that transition because of your interests and your career development.
Like basically, did you start working on an OPT or did you get an H-1B right away, or what's the deal?
During my interview, I made it clear I'd need an H-1B sponsorship.
Oh.
They said okay, and when I got on board, they...
I was joining a startup, so I didn't really want to come into an H-1B from the beginning. So I was on a post-completion OPT. I still am, even after a year. And I just applied for an H-1B, and once I've shifted to another company, and now I'm going through that process.
I started with the OPT. Last year when we applied for H-1B, the quota was full 1 day before my application. So I had to wait for this year to apply.
I'm on an F1 visa here. My major is in structural engineering. A lot of it is in advanced structures, like aerospace structures and spacecrafts and all those things. And so my first choice would be companies like Boeing, Airbus, NASA. And none of them would take students who are from the F1 visa. They only want US citizens. Apart from that, also because my industry is not doing that well, I'm seeing this clear trend that the international students are not getting jobs. They're not getting jobs as such, but then like other people who are US citizens, they're getting jobs. But it's not like they say that because you are an F1, like you are an F1 visa, they don't do that. But they clearly ask you that would you in the future require visa sponsorship?
Yeah.
Like in the first one interview, and like that when they ask that, like that it's going to affect the decision that they make. So I don't know if that's an industry thing or if that's an overall thing right now. So.
All sciences, you can't work like I can't work in a national lab, for example.
Yeah.
So they fund you to do research at the grad school level, and then when you graduate, then you can't do science. It's just like you're not US citizens, that just apply.
So there's some things that we cannot change.
Yeah. that's just life, yeah.
Right? That's the reality of it. So if you know that some things cannot change, then you have to change yourself in a little bit and find something that will work for you. Because if you hold on to, this is what I'm studying and this is what I'm going to do, the US government is going to say, too bad. So I don't want to discourage you, but I think that you have enough skills so that, I think Crystal said, in some ways people are looking at you as a person and they're looking at the breadth of basic knowledge that you bring. And my sense is, hearing from alumni previously, hearing from students, that the fact that you are Stanford students, Stanford graduates, brings a whole cachet for you. That people know that you're really the smartest and the best in the world. And there will be jobs for you. That's what I have heard.
Working in the US is a stipulation in your field. You could actually try to work in other countries as well, which are more friendly. And given that you're from Stanford, I'm sure a lot of other countries and a lot of other companies in those industries would be really willing to take you on. When I was hunting for an internship and a job, I was conscious about the fact that yes, Bay Area is an amazing place to work for technology, but that wasn't my constraint. If I wasn't to get any position I was interested in the Bay Area, I was looking to go anywhere that work would take me. So I think sometimes the constraint that you want to be in the US could also affect your chances. If you were a little more open, you could actually find more interesting positions outside. Because a lot of technology is already so advanced here, and a lot of it is actually becoming advanced, so the amount of opportunities you have outside of the US is also quite staggering.
In general, in practice, how do people who are currently on F1 visas, say, go about starting their own companies?
Generally, different regulation around which country you're coming from and how easy and friendly it is to start your company in US. I've talked to lawyers about it. Generally, lawyers suggest that think about it after you get your green card.
Some people are able to start a company when they're still on the F1 visa, so you still have to get employment authorization. But before you do anything like that, as Crystal said, it's the wisest thing to go speak to a lawyer who really knows the ins and outs. We offer the OPT workshops. I think we have 1 or 2 or 3 in a month. And we also offer H1 workshops where we have an outside attorney come in and speak to students. So keep an eye out for that. If you go to our website and look under workshops, you'll find dates, etc. there. So make use of that as well.
So how do you make your career plan?
I'm a person who wants to plan every detail. But in terms of career and life, after a while I realized that it's completely different from planning a trip. But I can keep my standard. My standard about anything I do is that what motivates me most is about learning. So although I cannot plan my career or plan my life, but I can make sure that I only accept those opportunities that enable me to do a lot of learning. So I'll encourage you to think about who you really are, what motivates you most, and stick to those principles.
So what I really liked about the application process, about in the US, is they ask you to draft a statement of purpose. So that statement of the whole process of drafting a statement of purpose was a revelation for me. So I actually got to understand why I wanted to come to the US and especially Stanford to do a master's. And now I have actually decided that I'm going to revisit that statement of purpose every interval of time to ensure that I have a clear purpose for the next X amount of time. I think that incremental process would definitely help you because it helps you change some features of your purpose according to what you're in.
For that global plan, always keep in mind someone who you look up to and maybe talk to them. I've spoken to a lot of people that I've looked up to, and you'd be surprised by how much insight you can get by talking to them, and just even listening to their stories can be very inspiring. So.
You'll be surprised that they actually want to share these things with you. So it's not as if it's just one-way traffic.
Yeah, and I think that's reflected right here in the number of alumni we have here. They've come here to share their stories. So here's proof that people want to share their stories and bring people forward, right?
Stanford gives us the domain stanford.edu. If you can link your homepage to Stanford, that is ranked really high on a Google search. So when people are looking for someone to hire, the first term they enter is a Stanford, petroleum engineering grad. And if they then add, then they say plus whatever interest in that field, your name would then rank higher in Google because you have associated yourself with the domain Stanford.edu. I was very surprised to find that in my batch in CS department, not many actually linked their home pages. They had a home page, but they never linked it to Stanford. So I am sure if you, personally I know it's helped me a lot. So.
What I would suggest, and I'm not sponsoring any company here, but LinkedIn really works. It blows my mind. There's this section on skills over there. Make sure you add Stanford as a school. There's a skills section over there, and there are thousands of recruiters. You will not believe how wonderfully it works. Add Stanford, add your skills, and you're going to get, I mean, I still get mails from 3 or 4 of them almost every day. And it's not even funny how well it works. Like you said, going to these conferences. So I went to the biggest conference I went to was the KDD conference, and that's the Knowledge Discovery and Data Mining Conference, being from that field. And you just talk to so many people, and you talk to so many people in your field. You get a really good perspective about what the general growth in your field is, what the latest cutting technology, and especially in engineering, if you're not with the latest, and if you don't have an idea about open source technology, you're basically losing touch. So conferences is one really good thing. Second thing, again, is joining all these groups like LinkedIn. I should give a disclaimer later on, but it helps me a lot because there are all these people out there who are working in small startups who you can't reach out to them in a direct way, but they're brilliant people. And they work with all this open source technology. There's no, I mean, I couldn't find them anywhere but these places where they'd actually write articles, post questions, you have a chance to discuss with them. You'd be surprised how many free events around the Bay Area they have. So there was this conference a couple of weeks back, which was just teaching women who want to learn JavaScript. And it was not just for women. Anyone could go, but the condition was that if you're going, you need to bring a woman along with you. There's so many of these great events out there, not just for networking with people, but for growing your skill set in areas which you didn't think you could.
You could also join Meetup, meetup.com.
What's that? What's meetup.com?
It's a portal where people register and organize events. At least around the technology space, you'd have really interesting talks. They have, I don't know, I mean, just for one open source product, for instance, you'll have 10 of them.
I volunteer at Oracle conferences. That's how I get to know like other people working at Oracle itself.
Give yourself a filter before you go to any event, so that you don't go to everything and in the end get overwhelmed even for the number of follow-ups you need to do, right? So I was very conscious about what type of people that I want to get, what type of network I want to tap in, and so that I will specialize in, have a goal in networking. Yeah.
Thank you all. So the formal part of the program is over. Food is here, people are here, chat.